That's right guys, that was me using my super 9 times in a 15-minute legend nightfall. 9 freaking times. Today I am bringing you a build that I recently came up with and that is completely different from how everyone is playing Arc Hunters, as my build is going to focus on buffing your weapons and your super to the point where you'll be getting your super in less than 1 minute. If that sounds good to you, then stay tuned because I'm about to explain it all. However, before we get into more detail, only 4% of you guys are subscribed, so if you enjoy my content, I would really appreciate it if you could sub, as it helps me grow my channel. Thank you so much. For you guys to understand the build, we need to start from the basics. Harmonic Siphon, aka orb generating mods. This mod will drop an orb of power every time you get a double kill. However, there's a cooldown between how often you can activate this mod. That is why if you get 6 kills at the same time, you will still only get 1 orb. Now, what if I told you that Arc 3.0 introduced a very interesting fragment called Spark of Amplitude, which works the exact same way as Harmonic Siphon, but it does stack with the mod, meaning that now you'll be making twice as many orbs of power. Now, we hunters have an exotic that loves orbs of power. An exotic that was abused pretty hard last season as everyone was using it with Blade Barrage. I'm talking about the Star Eater scales, and I think you guys already know where this is going. This exotic increases the amount of super energy that you get from picking up orbs of power. And once your super is fully charged, you will be able to pick up 4 more orbs, which will empower your super drastically, increasing its damage. There is also a very cool interaction with this build and high energy fire, because you will be producing 1 orb per kill, which means that you should technically have a 100% uptime for high energy fire, which is absolutely insane. Obviously it will never be 100% because of human error, but you will still have a very high uptime on that buff. To top this off, we are going to be using Font of Might, as we are going to be running arc weapons in order to create orbs. Stat wise, we are going to be running 100 resilience, 100 recovery, and then for the last stat you can aim for anything you want, to be honest. I went for intellect, even though going for anything that's over tier 3, tier 4 intellect, it's a pretty big waste of stat points. However, honestly I don't mind. Ability wise, we are going to be using Gathering Storm because it hits really hard. Gambler's Dodge to get our melee back, and then Disorienting Blow to make us amplified and blind enemies. And for your grenade, you can just run whatever you're comfortable with. For our aspects, we are going to be using Flow State, which is going to make our amplified buff even better, and then Lethal Current because it makes our melee jolt targets after dodging. Fragment wise, we are going to be starting off with Amplitude, which is the bread and butter of this build. Getting a double kill while amplified drops an orb of power. Pretty simple. Next up we have Spark of Discharge, which is going to create ionic traces whenever we get arc weapon final blows, and we are going to be getting a lot of those. Then we have Spark of Faults, which is going to make us amplified whenever we perform a finisher on an enemy. It also gives you a nice 10 recovery. And then Spark of Feedback, which I am mainly using for the 10 resilience. However, if you do not need the extra stats, then feel free to swap this out for Spark of Resistance or Spark of Beacons. Mod wise, we are going to be starting off with High Energy Fire, which is going to provide you with that 20% damage boost to your weapons as long as you're charged with light. We are also pairing this up with Double Harmonic Siphon. Next up, on our gauntlets, we are using Overcharged Wellmaker, and this is going to create 2 Arc Elemental Wells whenever you finish an enemy. However, you can swap this out for either Melee Wellmaker or Elemental Ordnance. You can use whichever one you want. I like to use Overcharged Wellmaker because it synergizes very well with the finisher fragment that we are using that makes us amplified. On our chest, we are running Font of Might, and this is going to give us a 25% damage boost to our arc weapons whenever we pick up an Arc Elemental Well. On our leg armor, we are running Elemental Armament, and this has a chance of spawning an Arc Elemental Well whenever you are getting kills with an arc weapon. Now, because we will be getting a ton of kills with arc weapons, this is actually a pretty useful mod. Ideally, you also want to slot in a recuperation mod in here because it's gonna be healing you for a ton. However, if you don't have the space for it, then it's fine. And finally, on our cloak, we are going to be running Taking Charge, which is going to be making us charge with light whenever we pick up an orb of power. Now, because we are going to be getting 1 orb of power per kill, that means that every kill is going to make us charge with light. Amped Up is going to increase our amplified duration by 5 seconds. And then Thunderous Retort is going to increase the damage of our super by a substantial amount as long as we are either amplified or critically wounded. Weapon wise, you can pretty much run anything you want, however in your energy slot you have to be running an energy weapon because this is how we are going to be creating a ton of orbs of power. A couple of good energy weapons I can recommend are Sweet Sorrow with stats for all and 1 for all, we have Trinity Ghoul, Risk Runner, we have the new Fusion Rifle, Delicate Tomb, or things like Wolfstone Drone and Cold Heart. Now, if you also want to be running an arc weapon for your heavy, which is perfectly viable, Thunderlord is absolutely amazing, especially with the new catalyst that just came out. However, you can also run weapons like the Hothead or Storm Chaser. So the way you play this build is very simple, as all you have to do is make sure that you're always amplified when you're getting kills. That way you will be dropping as many orbs of power as possible. The way we become amplified is by either defeating 4 enemies in a row, performing a finisher with the fragment that we are using, or by using a charged melee on an enemy. As you can see, there's plenty of ways of becoming and staying amplified. A combo that I would absolutely recommend if you're running Overcharged Wellmaker is to walk up to an enemy and finish them. This will make you amplified as well as it will proc Font of Might, giving you that extra weapon damage. Also, it is very important that you spam your super as much as possible. There's absolutely no point in holding this super as you will be getting it very often. And that's it for the video. Thank you so much for watching, guys. If you have any questions, make sure to join my Discord server and I'll be happy to answer them. And I also want to say a big thank you to my YouTube members. Thanks for the support that you guys have been giving me. Have a wonderful rest of your day.